Good morning. We'd like to welcome everybody to some training we're doing on pivot tables. So today we are going to be working on a pivot table within spreadsheets. So there's, I guess, Elaine and Mary Jo, if I'm going too fast, you just let me know, or if you have any questions, just slow me down and I can go more into detail on things. So here is a time entry for an accounting prop, and then this is all their employees. This is the customer. This is where, like AB Trucking, they have Jemima. She put in 1 hour of work for AB Trucking. So what I want to do, what we need is a pivot table that pulls data just from 2024, because we want the numbers for our 2024 end of year. We want to know how much time was spent with each client, with each different client, AB Trucking, all these different individuals, and then how much time each employee spent with those clients. So we can go up here, extensions, no, insert, pivot table, and we're going to select for the data range. This is where the data range where it pulls data from. So we're going to select the data there, and we will be actually, this is a big sheet. So we'll just go like that. Then it'll pull all the data within the whole sheet. We select OK. Now this is going to ask me where I want to insert the new pivot table. And then do I want to put it into a new sheet or into an existing sheet? So we're going to do an existing sheet, and we can do the same thing here. I'm going to go down here and duplicate this. Remove all the data that's in there. And then we're going to insert this into, just click on, let me go back a step. Or click on the grid, and then we're going to click on the name, and then we can insert into really any location in this tab here. And then we'll click OK. Create. Now it'll create the actual spreadsheet in here. Go reset all those. So we have two main pieces to a pivot table. There's rows, which rows are the numbers. They run down, and the rows are they're the first piece. So we're going to go in rows. We want the client name. So we're going to click on client, and that'll add all the clients within the database here. It'll add them into the pivot table. So they're all in here, and currently they're in alphabetical order. You can organize them by ascending, descending. You can sort them by different categories of how you can sort them in the rows. And then we have columns. Columns are what's going to go across the top, what information we want there. That information is going to be the employees themselves. So we'll have the rows on the right, on the left, where all the clients will be, and then we'll have information of each employee and then their hours, on how many hours they invested into each of these customers. So it'll be assigned to, I think, because here, where this is pulling their information from is the top row number 1. There's entry ID, client, and we added client as our rows. So that is pulling information from this column. We want the employees, so that is going to be assigned to. So in columns, we're going to add assigned to. and that is going to add each employee up top. Going to delete that. I don't know why we can't delete them. Anyway. Okay, now we have two pieces, rows on the left, columns across the top, and then we have values. Values is going to be what's in the pivot table, what the pivot table will show us. And we can refer back to this, what we'll need, and this is going to be under duration. The column duration is where they added all their time, how much time they spent with each client. So our values will be duration. Duration, there we go. Okay, so there is the information that we want. We can go 2024. All time tracking. You can rename that corner of each pivot table. Okay, so let's go back to, then we have one more thing, we have filters. And there in this spreadsheet, there is filters from the end is the date of each time tracking. So we have all the way back to 2022, 2023. We want just information that is in 2024. So we'll go back here into filters. We're going to add a filter. The filter is going to be in the column end is where we're going to show our information. And this is where we're going to filter out. You can filter by values, searching each one. You can go through and deselect the ones that you don't want. There is quite a lengthy list here. So I am just going to go up here into condition and we're going to sort this. This is a date, and date is exact date. So we'll be tracking information within 2024 itself. So trying to think of the best way to track that, because I think they'll be adding 2025 information in there as well. So I already did this, so I'll just go back and refer to this one. Okay, that's what I thought I did. So we're going to go back in here, condition, date is, not date is, we want is between. So we can add, we want information between the 1st, January 1st, 2024 and 12/31/2024. Then that'll filter out and just show us data from the dates between January 1st and December 31st. Hit OK, and that'll make our list a little bit smaller. So within the pivot table itself, we are now done. Like this shows, one more thing, you can show totals for the client. Can show totals. This total is going to be down here, way at the bottom. Show totals there. You know, this would then show totals for each client. Homer Miller would have 1,300, 1,700 hours in the whole year. Or you can show totals for assigned to, then it shows the total on the right-hand side. I want this total because this shows me the total of hours that was invested, that all the different employees spent on each client. So within the pivot table itself, we are done now. So I'm going to X out of this. Now, if I do need to edit this, it is down here, the green button. You can go back and edit anything within the pivot table itself. But for now, we are done there. So here, I want a little bit more information on each client or each. Let's say I want to know how much I spent on each of my employees if I was a tax accounting in this situation. So I'll want to know how much I spent for Homer in this year. Well, within the pivot table itself, you're not able to move data. Like I can't move this row over here. It just reverts back to the original. And then, so what I'll just do is I'll transfer my totals up to the top. So you have to do your own little programming within the pivots, within the spreadsheet. But you can pull data from the pivot table. So this brings the totals from the bottom to the top. And we're going to drag that across the top all the way. And we're going to do the same way with each name. I want those up higher a little bit. I'm going to bring these up as well. And now I want to know how much I spend for Homer. We're going to say I spend $30 an hour on Homer. This is going to be the hourly rate. Total hours. This is going to be the yearly totals here, and we'll simply multiply this. Multiply $30 an hour times the number of hours that he spent, and we'll make this a currency. All right, then we can simply copy that over to all the others. And we're just going to say, for the sake of this piece, everybody is getting paid $30 an hour. So I'm going to highlight my information that I want to show, make it just a little bit bigger. This is the yearly totals that I spent on each. For Homer, I would have spent $51,000 just on Homer. And then over here is the grand total for total amount that I spent on all my employees in this year. There's also some more information that could be extracted from this pivot table. We could go through and add some columns on the right hand side to where how much we spent on each individual client. For AB trucking, we would have the totals here, and we could multiply that times 30. And then this would show us how much money was spent on each client. You know, on AB trucking, we spent this amount on our own clients for their services. So that kind of an overview of what you can do with pivot table, or what was used in this situation. I also want to show another pivot table that I am using for myself and Dreamscape Creations. So here I have the tracking, or actually before we go there, do you guys have any other questions on this spreadsheet or this pivot table that we created here? Perfect. Ginge, I know you weren't here earlier, but earlier, I talked about the actual revenue here. I know you said something previously about the pivot table doesn't have any labor wages or hang on.
Yeah, I'm not sure where those are pulled from.
So the labor wages are pulled from here,
Yeah, the labor wages are what that's what Mary Jo did.
but do you know the actual, like I believe I could pull this information from the pivot table if I know where it currently comes from. Like the actual revenue, is that from, or what, do you know where that's pulling from?
I'm assuming John just put that in there because they don't have formulas or anything. So he apparently pulled the number probably from his QuickBooks.
And then these,
That's just the difference between the two.
yes. Um, so I don't know if I can add that to the pivot table if I know where this data comes from. The one thing I thought it may be from
Well,
is
if it's pulled from QuickBooks, then we wouldn't be able to pull it from there, right?
right, but if I know how he calculated each one. So if he does one thing I saw, like for AB trucking,
Yeah.
Jemima spent 1 hour on that, and well, he doesn't have it for AB trucking, but the next one he has the rate is $175 an hour. And I don't know, would that be then the rate that they charge the client? So John Miller, he spent an hour and a half with Green Acres Group at $175. Would that be what they charge Green Acres Group? Or, that would be, if that is accurate, then that would be one way of generating that number, but I don't know if that's how he generated that number or not.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure on that. I don't know if you're available to jump on his call. I meet with him on Thursdays at 2.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you're able to jump on for like 5 minutes and just verify which ones you need in order to pull it from there. I would have done it yesterday, except for he got on late and then Jemima was taking up half of it. um, so I don't know if that's possible because I'm really not sure how he pulled all of that from him. I mean, I could send him an email and ask him, but getting it right here now is kind of challenging.
What time is his call?
It's 2 o'clock on Thursdays.
On Thursdays. Okay. Yeah, if you want to add me to that, then I
Okay, yeah. If you just want to jump on for 5 minutes to verify whatever, and then I could put you first on that. And I'll just remind him to be on time because he keeps forgetting.
yeah. So I don't know how much
I'm
of
assuming he pulled it from that's what they charged the client. It sounds that would be accurate, but I don't know for 100% sure. He just literally gave this budget to me and said, "Please figure this out."
right. And I don't know if that's the case, these not all of these have data in them.
The
So that would
only
be
one
another
that
thing that would
I
need to be
used,
filled out.
the only one that I used the rate for was Dan. Because they didn't have an hourly wage for Dan, but they had an hourly wage for everybody else. So
Okay.
when you see Dan Yoder, he has a rate of $60 an hour. So that's what I used to come up with the cost for Dan.
Okay. I just saw that. Is Dan a past employee? Because he has no time entries.
Yeah, he's a past one.
Okay. And that's what another thing, this filters the 2024, and we only have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven people there, and they have 11 here. Um, so I don't know how. That must be correct though, because it would filter all the 2024 times out. and everything else would be, all the other employees would not show up if they don't have a time entry in here. I don't know if this, Janice, did you get a chance to take a look at this? Was this an accurate pivot table of what the information that you wanted? Mhm. You're on mute, Ginge. Okay, while we wait for her, why don't we go over into one more spreadsheet that I use to track all my leads. And this is just, I guess, to show you the different uses of a pivot table. Often, so this is the overview of the sales tracking. And often you can't show all this information in one pivot table. So I just used multiple pivot tables, and you can simply control copy, control V, then you duplicated that pivot table. Then you can go in and change the filters within it to what you want. But here I have just these different pivot tables that pull information from the sales tracking and each status of where each client's at. And then this kind of gives me an overview report of where I'm at with all my sales tracking here. So that's another use of multiple pivot tables, I guess. I don't know, is that, Mary Jo Elaine, is that kind of enough training for you to get you started on how to do a pivot table?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, perfect.
Those are really cool, by the way. I just never seen a pivot table before, so thank you, Ken, on it.
I don't know how much of it you were able to see or hear for. But yes, I think they're pretty cool. But if you want to see something really cool, this is, I guess this could be maybe the next session in training we do. Within sales spreadsheets, there is extensions and there's app scripts. I got tired of doing daily reports every day of information. So I was like, there's got to be a way that you can send out a report that I don't have to do it. So this is an email from me to me, and this is this. So this shows all my pivot tables in an email, and this is automatically generated. So all you have to do that is within spreadsheets, there's extensions, app scripts, and then you can, in the app scripts, you can add any script you want to, and it goes out to me, Mark, and Luke.
I
And
did play with those one
automatically
time when I had to create something for John last year, and I feel like I have PTSD from it because I had to do so much like tissues with it, but I guess I wasn't very good at it. So
Yes, so that could be maybe in the next training that we do, because I am not too familiar with this whole thing itself. And that's one of, I guess, this wording jumble of words does a report every day at 5 o'clock. It'll send me, Mark, and Luke an email, and the email will look like this, automatically generated from here, which is automatically generated from here, and this is where I do all of my work. So we'll leave that for today. Won't get much into that one. We'll leave that for another day. Any questions any of you have on pivot tables, what they can do, how to do them? Here. Sweet. All right. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Kenny.
Come again someday. We'll go from there.
Will do.
Now let me stop this recording.